What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. My name is Luke, and for today's post-regionals meta-analysis, looking at numbers meta talk video, I wanted to try a little bit of a different format for recording this. I want to get to talk to the camera a little more, do some more streams of consciousness videos, just, chill, just record 10 minutes of me talking, and that's the video kind of thing, to connect to the viewers in a bit of a different way, a more unique way. Hashtag don't demonetize me, hashtag COPPA laws. So we're going to look at the results of San Diego Regionals 2019-2020. It happened this past weekend, December 7th. There were 580 Masters Ultra Prism through Cosmic Eclipse, and I believe it was the last major regionals for this, the last major tournament for this standard format. The next regionals we have in North America is Dallas. I'll be going to that. Super excited to play Expanded. So where were the BDIFs at? I really thought Mewtwo or ADP were going to take down this tournament. Justin Bakari won with the Tina Chomp Mismagius kind of deck. So a question I want to ask myself, and I want the viewers to be asking themselves, is how did this deck do so well at the tournament? There were other people who did well with it. Rahul already got 13th, and then was there another in day 2, I believe? There was more than just 2 people that did well with it. Somebody got top 64 as well. So how did this deck that we were not thinking about come through and do so well? And why did Mewtwo and Mew and then ADP not perform so well? There was actually only one Mewtwo tag team in top 16, none in top 8. And then, of course, ADP did pretty well, getting both 3rd and 4th. So this has happened before, this kind of rogue deck come out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere, and a group of really good players brings it, and it turns into this great meta call that wins the tournament. It happened not this past season. Yeah, it happened last season, actually. So the first international championship of the season that was won by Zoro Control, Robin Schultz played a Gardevoir GX Solgaleo GX deck to that tournament. It was Gardevoir GX Swampert Solgaleo GX. The Solgaleo GX that stops the weakness, and then of course the Alolan Ninetales GX to get your candies and items and stuff. That deck went on to become a little more popular in the weeks to come. But Robin got top 32 or top 16 with that deck. A couple people talked about it, took note of it. I remember I actually tested it, like, as soon as I found out the list, I started playing games with it. Thought it was pretty cool, but didn't think too much of it. And then the next week or 2 weeks later, for Roanoke, Virginia Regionals, DDG brought the deck and actually won the whole tournament with it. So that's what this reminded me of, with Justin and Rahul playing Tina Chomp and the rest of their group, whoever else played it, playing the Tina Chomp Mismagius deck. I actually did 2 videos on the channel about this deck. Well, one was about the DDG version and one was about Gustavo's version. I did say I thought Gustavo's version was much better. And so I think this deck just kind of had a lot of tools that a very skillful player could adapt their game to other decks to beat whatever was happening on the other side of the board. Also really interesting, Lucario Melmetal got 2nd at the tournament. We can actually look at the list here real quick. So it was kind of another Stamp Plant kind of deck, but with the Lucario Melmetal. Another deck that we did not really expect. So something that I want to keep in mind for myself, and I want to kind of talk to you guys to keep in mind for the future, is we thought we had this meta figured out. We thought ADP, Mewtwo, and Mew were at the top, which I still do think those are the front runners for best deck in format. But when we thought, ADP and Mewtwo and Mew, they're going to be so popular because they're just so good, and Malamar is going to be really popular as well. Azul and Daniel Altavia both played it, and they're really, really accomplished and really good players, really good deck builders, and they chose to play Malamar. So we kind of had the meta figured out, and when the community is agreeing on what they think the meta will be, that's the best time for a group of good players to come in with a really great meta call rogue deck, whatever you want to call it, that they had good matchups to these big three decks. Personally, I believe I predicted ADP and Ability Zard being really good for the tournament because I thought Guardian and ADP were going to be really highly played, as well as Malamar and Mewtwo and Mew. That was not the case for most of my predictions. Ability Zard did get a couple top 32s. I got 33rd, got 23rd, and got 20th. But then ADP did get 3rd and 4th, but I really expected ADP or Mewtwo and Mew to bring down the tournament. So I wanted to talk about why I still think Mewtwo and Mew is best deck in format, and ADP is the only deck that could kind of compete with it for that. The best deck in format, I really think it has to have a great matchup spread. It has to have some high roll potential, which Mewtwo and Mew does. And the deck has to be able to be built a little bit differently between the weeks, between the major tournaments, to change it up a little bit so it's not too predictable. And I do believe Mewtwo and Mew has that. It has the high roll potential. If you just hit Welder and then Welder, you can kind of steamroll through anything with it. But like I said, I think the good players really took rogue decks and meta calls. Well, not all the good players, but these few successful players that brought rogue decks, or these good meta call decks that we already knew about but weren't really paying too much attention to, did really well because they took advantage of this kind of not exact meta, but this meta that was really forming and everybody thought it was figured out. The last standard regional of this format of Cosmic Eclipse being the newest set, we thought we knew what was happening, and then bam, our first and second place decks are Tina Chomp Mismagius and Lucario Melmetal. I really don't think anybody, except maybe the people playing Tina Chomp Mismagius, could have predicted it being into the top 2. And so it's really just a lesson to learn here for everyone, that just look at all of the options, look at all the possibilities, all of the decks that are available to you. Even maybe if this Tina Chomp deck wasn't already available, it's the kind of deck that somebody has to create. It wasn't something that the whole community was agreed upon being a very good deck. Also, another deck that was really interesting to me was the Pidgeotto Persian Checkmate deck that Preston Ellis and Jacob Chen placed into the top 16 with. If you want to check these out, they're all on limitlesstcg.com. That's really interesting. Again, a deck, it was written about in a Cutter Tap article by Finnegan Lynch, who owns Cutter Tap, and it wasn't really looked at too much after that. I thought it was a cool deck. I didn't try it myself. It looked really difficult, and I didn't want to put the time into a deck when I wasn't competing in any majors for this format. But this tournament was really just all of the weird stuff coming out of the woodwork. We had a Buzzmosa Trevnor in day 2, the Lucario Melmetals, multiple of them, an Alolan Persian GX was in day 2, and then the Persian Checkmate decks, the Tina Chomp Mismagius, and then of course your normal stuff, the Birds, Blacephalon GX, Ability Zard, ADP, Mewtwo, Malamar. Dolls really fell off, which was kind of expected. I didn't really think Dolls and Birds were too great just because people were thinking they were really great. That's usually how it happens. But Birds actually did bubble at 9th, so I guess it could have actually went farther than it did, but 9th is still pretty good. But yeah, just the really big takeaway from this is just because the BDIFs, I guess, didn't win the tournament, the reason they are the BDIFs is because they're what the meta centralizes around. So a meta that's forming around these decks, I still really believe that Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team and ADP are the decks that this meta is forming around. Those are the decks that everybody is expecting to hit multiple of in day 1, multiple of in day 2, maybe hit it in top 8, top 4, and finals. Those are the decks that people are building their own decks in mind, keeping in mind those decks. So a lot of really interesting stuff happened. I don't have all the answers as to why, but a couple answers as to why Tina Chomp won It's a very good deck, and Gustavo's list, they didn't play exactly it, but it was very well thought out, and I did mention in my video on that I think a good player could really take this deck far again. And good players played it. Justin Bokhari and Rahul Reddy are two of the best players. They're like in the top, the top whatever percent of players. Like Justin Bokhari is one of those people that I've played with multiple times because we've been playing at the same tournament since I was like 12, and I can't ever remember a time that he misplayed against me. He's just a very, very good player. So also congrats to him for finally taking down our regionals. I think it was overdue, so well deserved. So yeah, it was a really interesting tournament, a really interesting day two. I still do think ADP and Mewtwo and Mew are the front runners for best deck in format because they're what the meta is centralized around. But I just think good players with very good deck building skills that played their decks well and hit the matchups they wanted to made really great meta calls for this tournament because I think it was really, really forming around Mewtwo, ADP, and then Malamar and Guardian. So that's my thoughts on the tournament. Like I said, I wanted to try to make this video a little less like spreadsheety in presentation and a little more accessible, just to talk to you guys and kind of let out a stream of consciousness and just whatever is going through my mind about these results or whatever the topic of the next video would be. So let me know how you guys liked this. Of course, I still will be doing my statistical analyses and my spreadsheets and my presentations and slideshows and whatnot, but I just wanted to try to connect in a different way because not every video type is the best for every viewer. As always, check out my sponsors, PotownStore.com and FlipsideGaming.com. Code Celio and code Celio all caps for FlipsideGaming.com, not case sensitive for Potown. I'm really happy to be working with them, and of course I write articles over at FlipsideGaming.com. I just wrote a really, really exciting expanded article over on Flipside looking at the new bans. So I looked at the cards that were banned and how relevant they were at Richmond and Portland. I'll also be doing a little video kind of wrapping that up in a more concise way and a little more accessible way for people who don't want to sit and read through spreadsheets. But if you're interested in that, go check that out on FlipsideGaming.com. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content and you want to see more. Let me know what you thought about this kind of format and if you would like to see more videos where I just kind of talk to you guys and I'm not, reading spreadsheets and looking at the presentations and whatnot. I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.